Game week 4 was horrendous. Cue the intro. Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast. Hello and welcome to the 6th episode of Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast. I'm your host, Geoff Willis, and each week I'll be talking fancy Premier League football. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Stitcher, to name but a few. Just search Captain's Pick. Huge thanks to everyone who has listened so far. It's just been over a month since we launched, and we've had 200 downloads already, which is great to see. We also feature on the YouTube channel Vildsy Podcasts, where soon I'll be attempting to live stream the podcast as soon as I can work out some technical issues, so look out for that. And please remember to like, subscribe and share. On today's show, I'll be looking back at Game Week 4, looking at my squad selection for the weekend, and discussing Game Week 5's fixtures, along with transfers and my captain's pick. Okay, so Game Week 4 was pretty terrible for me. My final points for Game Week 4 was 35 points. My Game Week rank was 4,362,829, and that left me on overall points of 260, with my overall rank dropping about 150,000 to 221,475. Just going through my team, Pickford got 3 points, Bertrand 6 points, Mendy 5 points, Wan-Bissaka with a big fat 0, Alexander-Arnold with 2, Salah 2, Bernardo Silva 1, Walcott 1, Lerma 1, Kane 2, and luckily Aguero got an assist as he was my captain, so he got me 12 points. Otherwise it would have been, well, let's not even go there. So after that game week, obviously it's been the international break for the last 2 weeks. I've had a few players on suspected injury watch, Walcott, Zaha and Daniels. I've also got a few players there that aren't firing either, so very tempted to hit the wild card over the international break. I haven't, and as recording this on Friday afternoon, I still haven't, but I'm still very tempted to, but in the end I don't think I will. I think I'll just have to make one transfer and hopefully all those players who are potentially injured make a recovery and start this weekend. So looking at my squad for going into Game Week 5, I have Pickford in goal, who's got West Ham at home. I say it every week, but that should be a clean sheet, hopefully, but he's not kept one so far this week. He's probably only got a couple of weeks left in my team before I downgrade him to a 4.5 million keeper, potentially Fabianski or Begovic or maybe Ryan of Brighton. Currently Wan-Bissaka, Huddersfield away, potential clean sheet there. Alexander-Arnold, Tottenham away, may not get a clean sheet, but I think could potentially return some attacking points. Mendy at home to Fulham, definitely be looking at clean sheet and attacking points there. And the last defender with Bertrand, who've got Brighton at home on the Monday night game, looking for a clean sheet, maybe some attacking returns, and probably going to be his last week in my teams. Actually performed a lot better than I thought he would, but Southampton are coming up with quite a bad run of fixtures coming up soon, so he'll probably be making way for potentially Chilwell of Leicester, who Leicester have got quite a good favourable run set of games coming up, so that may be a transfer for next week. Then currently I still have Walcott in my team. I think he's been past fit, or he's in contention, which sounds very dodgy to me, so he still may be getting transferred out tonight or tomorrow morning before the deadline. Salah in the team, Tottenham away. He's had quite a good record against Spurs, so I'll definitely be keeping him in the team. And then Bernardo Silva, risk of rotation, but Fulham at home's too good to get him out of the team. I think he's got 3 good games left, and then I'll be looking to transfer him out, maybe to bring back Richarlison in a few games' time. Zaha, again, been training this week, so hopefully, fingers crossed, he starts against Huddersfield away, because I think it's a good game for him to get some goals in. Kane, I know he's not been at his sharpest, but Liverpool at home, it's going to be a big game. I think both teams will score in that, so I'm looking for Kane to hopefully get a goal in there. And then, as I say, Aguero, Fulham at home, bag of goals coming in this game, and hopefully Aguero gets a hat-trick. That would be nice. Bench isn't looking very good with Daniels on an injury, but he may be getting transferred out. But at least Lerma and Chalobah look to be getting 90-minute games now. So if any of those big names get rested, at least I've got those two to come off the bench and maybe get me 1, 2, maybe even 3 points each off the bench would be good. Looking into transfers for game week 5, looking at 2 possible sets of transfers. So looking at getting rid of Daniels of Bournemouth and bringing in Alonso. I just can't spend any more time not on the Alonso yacht. I have to get on board there. It's just killing me to see him getting all these points without having him. But to do that, obviously, I need to downgrade one of probably my midfielders. So Walcott is one choice. I could get rid of him, which would mean I'd have to bring in a 4.4 midfielder, which there is only a couple of those, but I've been looking at potentially Dendoncker of Wolves, who hasn't played yet, but he's just come back from injury. And from what I've read, had a good season last year in the Championship. And even though Bennett has been playing well, there's a chance of him maybe coming back into that position. He's probably going to be on my bench, so he's not going to play anyways. But he's like 0.5% own or something like that. So it would be a very good differential. A bit of a punt, admittedly. And the second option is to, again, get rid of Daniels and bring in Alonso and transfer out Bernardo Silva, who could get rested, but I think if he does play, he could definitely get some points. But if he does go out the team, I'd potentially be looking at Gazal at Leicester, who's 5.3, scored in the last game week. Cheaper option would probably get a start in my team, or maybe first on the bench. Again, differential is like 0.7% owned. So they're my 2 sets of fixtures. I'll be looking to do one of those. Still haven't decided. Obviously, it means taking a 4-point hit, which I probably should have done something like this last game week and not brought in Walcott and did one of these transfers. But well, we all know what happened there when Walcott went off injured after 50 minutes. And no doubt if I get rid of him now, he'll go and score a brace against West Ham. But I think I'm more fearful of Bernardo Silva getting points than I am Walcott. So I think I'm leaning towards getting rid of Daniels and Walcott and bringing in Alonso and Dendoncker. No doubt, whatever I do will probably come back to haunt me. Captain's pick this week's definitely got to be Aguero, Fulham at home. No other choice for me. Unless, well, he could get rested, but he didn't play during the international break, so I can't see why you would rest him. I know they've got the Champions League coming up, but it looks just a great fixture for him to get a load of goals in. So he'll be my captain's pick. Now going through down the fixtures, Spurs at home to Liverpool is the early game on Saturday at 12:30. Fancy both teams to score in this. Could be tight. I think maybe a 1-1 or a 2-2. Sitting on the fence slightly, but hoping that my players from both teams get attacking points in that game. Bournemouth at home to Leicester. Bit hard to call this one. I'm sure if I put my Leicester player in, Gazal, if I transferred him in, they'd probably get nothing. And I'm sure Charlie Daniels will probably start if I get rid of him for Bournemouth. Tight game, but both teams been playing pretty decent. Could see this maybe as a draw, or even maybe a Leicester win away from home. Jamie Vardy is back from suspension in that game. Chelsea at home to Cardiff. I mean, this feels like 3 points nailed on and maybe a 3 or 4-0 game. That's why I just felt like I need to get Alonso in, because clean sheet and attacking points are definitely up there to be had. So even if I do take a 4-point hit, I only need him to get an assist or a clean sheet, and that clears that out. So sure, Hazard will do well. Did look at potentially bringing him in, but he's trolled me too many times in the past. So pretty happy just to have Alonso in the team. Normal rule is not to have too many any Chelsea players, but I think it's just too tough not to have Alonso. So it'd be nice to actually cheer him on Saturday and hopefully get some points. Huddersfield home to Crystal Palace. Just praying that Zaha starts, because I definitely feel like he could return some goals in that match. I'll be keeping my fingers crossed. Wan-Bissaka at the back could be on for a clean sheet, but even some attacking points in that game. If Zaha starts, I fancy Palace to maybe get the 1-0 win or a 2-0 win. If Zaha doesn't start, could be a 0-0 or 1-1. Man City at home to Fulham, as I said before. Big points return for City here, points-wise. And goals-wise, looking at all three of my City players to be in the points. Obviously, Fulham have got Mitrovic, who's been in good form. But away at the Etihad, that's a very tough game. Newcastle at home to Arsenal. Newcastle win fairly decent defensive-wise. And Arsenal haven't been that great at defence, but got a few goals away at Cardiff last game week. Fancy this to maybe be I don't know. I'm tempted to say Newcastle win, but my head would say probably a 2-1 Arsenal. And then the late game on Saturday, Watford at home to Man United. Man United's stats haven't been too bad. They've actually been a little bit unlucky in their games so far. And I think, though, Watford have been in good form as well, so it could be a pretty tight game. I could see this maybe being a draw. I don't, even though Spurs went there and lost last game week, I think Man United will win this game. Heading to Sunday, Wolves at home to Burnley. Wolves have been in good form. Burnley haven't, but now they're out of Europe. Had probably a couple of weeks rest now. So I could see them bouncing back. But Wolves have been in decent form, so I could see that as a 1-0 Wolves victory. And then the late game on Sunday, Everton at home to West Ham. No doubt if I take out Walcott, he's going to start and score. But I should have gone with my gut instinct, as I said on the pod a few weeks ago, that I wouldn't touch him with a barge pole, and obviously went against my decision. So, and then it obviously blew back up in my face. So I think maybe just get rid of him, and no doubt he'll score. But that'll be Theo done and dusted, and I'm sure I can be reminded of that every time I think, oh, maybe I should put Theo in my team. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I think he'll get cut. But hopefully Pickford can get a clean sheet in that game. West Ham haven't scored too many goals, so at least maybe I can get a clean sheet from that game. But I fancy Everton maybe just to nick that 1-0. And then the Monday night game, Southampton at home to Brighton. Neither team are great offensively, I would say. Looking for Bertrand to get a clean sheet in that game, which I think is a definite possibility. If Ings plays up front for Southampton, they might nick that 1-0. But I could definitely see that just being a 0-0 on Monday night. Okay, so I think I'm going to wrap up the show there. Bit of a quick one this week, but hopefully be getting a podcast up next week. We may be live streaming that so that could be quite cool. Okay, reminder, the Game Week 5 deadline is tomorrow morning at 11:30. That's Saturday morning at 11:30. Okay, you can find me tweeting FPL Gold on the podcast Twitter account at CaptainsPickPod. Feel free to send in any questions or topics you'd like discussed on the show. And so from me, good luck with Game Week 5, and until next time, it's been my pleasure to talk with you. Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast.